So, to talk about the CRC, and I'm sure you've been following the Washington legislature and what's going on there. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are on.
Well, let me just walk back my own personal history in this.
Sure.
Senator Hatfield from Oregon, many years ago when I first was elected to the Senate, came and talked to me about the need to replace an unsafe bridge between our states. So 20 years ago, he and I sat down with the first group of folks out here to really take a look at what needed to be done. Between then and now, an incredible amount of work has been done. A lot of different people have weighed in. A lot of studies have been done. A lot of work has been done to both on the side of getting all the permits, to the plan, to the design, to the funding, and everything else. And we are within reach. And it, to me, is one of the most critical projects in our entire state, region, and nation. And that is because it is, first of all, an unsafe bridge. And I spent the last few weeks watching what happened up in Skagit County. I've been on the ground, and I want to talk about that in a second. But I know what happens if we don't replace this bridge. And it is going to impact this community in incredible ways that a lot of people haven't thought about. And on the other side of it, replacing this bridge with a modern bridge will mean economic development here. It will mean more jobs. It will mean a better way of life. And it will mean an assurance to people here that they have a safe bridge to go over. So to me, this project is absolutely critical, and we are at a very important stage. The federal funding is there through what's called the full funding grant agreement. Oregon legislature stepped up to the plate. The key thing now is for our state to step up to the plate and fund this, and that's why this is so important. But I want to just go back for a second. When the Skagit River Bridge went down, I was there within a few hours, early the next morning, and it was, first of all, very much lucked out. Nobody was hurt or killed. But now, going up there right now and seeing the businesses that have been impacted, the tears in their eyes, because now when people were going over the bridge before, it was, just part of life. Now these cars and trucks are off the road in their communities. Business owners are saying the impact to them is incredible. The owner of the grocery store is saying people aren't coming into my store because they can't get back out into traffic because she lives on the one road through town. I can't imagine that happening here. If that bridge were to be shut down because it was declared too unsafe, or if we have an earthquake and it was shut down, or if a truck hit it and it was shut down, it would be incredible. We cannot stop this project from happening. It needs to be replaced. People who don't want this to go forward don't often think about the consequences if they win. And I think they need to think about that.
Was it startling to you to see a bridge collapse that wasn't considered, it wasn't on that list of structurally deficient bridges?
It was stunning to watch that happen. And I think, when you know about the condition of decades-old roads and bridges, I-5 has been here for a long time. It's part of our daily life. We just think we get on it and we go. But it is a piece of infrastructure that is old and needs repair and maintenance, and there's key parts of it that we know need to be replaced.
You mentioned, that I guess there's always a possibility that the funding won't happen this year with the Washington legislature. Is there a backup plan or anything in place if that doesn't happen?
There is no backup plan. The people who are opposing it need to tell you what they think the backup plan is. I can tell you from the federal side, which is a major portion of funding for this, is that means that funding is no longer there. It means that the bridge has to go back to ground one 15 years ago, go through a new design, a new decision making there. It doesn't mean it's going to be any less contentious when it gets to the end of it, but I can tell you that the likelihood of any federal funds being there for the end of the day at a new project, 15 to 20 years from now, still in the planning design, is very, very close to nil.
I know people might see what happened with the Skagit Bridge collapse and see how fast that funding came through for the bridge and maybe not get the differences.
They're real. Can
you talk about why?
First of all, if this bridge collapsed here, the CRC, there would be loss of life. There's no doubt about it. I don't want to go to anybody's funeral to get federal funding. Secondly, the federal funding that we got for the Skagit River Bridge is only to replace it with a very narrow section of bridge. It would take forever to replace a section of the Columbia River crossing. And in the meantime, even if there meant federal funds to help with a replacement, it would mean that every business, every family, every part of this community would pay the price. Businesses would see loss of business. The economic impact is horrendous. We know that every time a major piece of road has gone down, whether it's through the flooding in the Chehalis or the Skagit River, the impact to this economy would be really severe. Doesn't have to be that way.
Just talking about the Coast Guard briefly, how much interaction do you have with them? And do you have any sense of can you read the tea leaves, or do you have any sense of...
Well, they're going through their permitting process, and that's exactly what they're required to do, and they're going through that process right now. My understanding, I've been told, is that they're very close to the mitigation agreements that need to be reached, and that once those T's are crossed and I's are dotted, then we'll be able to move on to the next part of this.
What did you make of Governor Inslee? He, in the transportation budget, vetoed 82 million for planning dollars for the CRC, basically saying, if the legislature doesn't give 450 million, what's the point?
Well, I think the governor's point is that we take care of our stuff, is the words he used to me. And this bridge is part of our stuff. That this is something we own as a region that we have to maintain. And if we don't step up to the plate with the funding that Washington State needs, a small amount of money isn't going to help us. It means that the project is going to reach a place that means we're decades behind here.
And can you speak a little bit to the competitiveness for federal gas tax dollars?
Well, that's a key reason why I feel so strongly about a bridge that, it isn't like somebody came up with a magic plan here. A lot of work and planning, a lot of community from both sides of this river have come together. They've had expert design put in place. They've all made compromises along the way to reach where we are today. Part of that funding that we've been able to give as the federal part of this is tied to transit funding. That is not going to change in the next 50 years. That's part of where our country has to be right now, when we've got very tight federal dollars and very key critical infrastructure across the country. If this bridge backs away from that funding right now, there are so many projects in line behind us that it's unimaginable that we'll ever be able to get in the back of this line, which is where we go, and be back up to where we'd have the funding today.
Do you think the Skagit Bridge collapse and the focus on structurally deficient bridges kind of changes the debate a little bit? And I know I've heard some people say that maybe we should fix the structurally deficient bridges first before we fix other ones?
Yeah, I think that it's really important to understand that expert bridge designers and engineers have looked at the CRC plan and design and deem it to be safe. I think that we rely on that, and they have been right. And I think I feel very confident about the safety of the structure that's being designed here. I do look at the Skagit River coming down and realize that I've learned something in the last few weeks, and that is the economic impact to the communities surrounding that bridge that they were not prepared for because that bridge went down. And it's not part of the conversation that we've had down here in this region about if we don't replace this bridge, because if we do not replace this bridge, it will at some point have to be shut down. It's old, it's aging, it's not safe, and at some point it's going to be shut down. So what is the cost to the economy here when that occurs because we didn't move forward today?
Okay, but do you think that we should look at those bridges that are structurally deficient first? Or?
The Columbia River crossing current structure is considered to be something that needs to be replaced because of deficiencies.
Okay. I know it's considered functionally obsolete, but not structurally deficient.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of phrases that get thrown out there a lot, and I had a hearing yesterday in the Senate where I talked to top bridge experts about what those different phrases mean, and in terms of structurally deficient, there's a lot of other phrases, and am assured, I feel very confident that the bridge design that is being put in place here has been looked at by every expert imaginable out there, and they feel very confident that it is safe as it has been designed. Currently standing there, it's not.
Okay, great. Do you have any other comments you wanted to make?
I understand the stress in this region about the impact of a major change and a major cost and a major impact to this community, and the emotions and thoughts and things that everybody brings to the table. And I've been involved in a lot of projects in my career where there's been proponents and opponents and people who agree and disagree, but at the end of the day have moved forward on projects. And I can tell you that even the people that oppose them are there for the ribbon cutting, because when it's done and completed and they see the great impact of their community, they want to own it too.
Is this the most contentious project?
Oh, and I've lived through a lot of them. and it's not easy. Funding isn't easy. Nobody wants to pay more for anything today. But it's just like your home. You can say, gosh, I do not want to replace that roof. But eventually it is leaking so much, you have to do it. And this is something we own and we have to live up to.